All right, guys. Today is October 26th, 2025. Coming at for the live stream to talk about The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Season 3, and the next and final season, which is Season 4. Some news that we've seen people meeting for The Walking Dead potentially. I guess there's a little more filming news about Dead City, still in Massachusetts. Other shows, other movies, stuff we're watching. I'm excited to talk about The Walking Dead as a whole. Let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below in the chat. Appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. I'm One Eyebrow, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about The Walking Dead. Other shows like Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown comes back today. I believe Tulsa King ends today for Season 3. Landman coming up very soon. Gen V, that finale setting up The Boys Season 5 next year. And any other shows or movies that you're talking about here. So Daryl Dixon Season 3 is done. Ready to move on to Season 4. And they did the thing that we thought they were going to do. And Daryl's not going home yet. But will he ever go back to the United States? Will he stay in Spain or parts of Europe? I don't know. But thank you guys for taking the time to be here. Negan, Sims, and everybody as we speak for joining today. The Cowboys, for those who don't know, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. They play the Broncos. My wife's a Giants fan. They play the Eagles. So it's another great slate of NFL football. World Series underway. So this is the best time for sports right now is October. Because you got all the major sports are back playing. College football, NFL, World Series, NBA. College basketball has kind of started a little bit. It's just hockey, NHL. Just so many things coming through for sports. World Series will be over in a couple weeks, I guess, or maybe a week or so. I don't know, however it is, for series tied up 1-1. And, yeah. So next week is Halloween. This week coming up, this Friday, is Halloween. And then we're in November, into December, and then into 2026, which should be awesome too. So Negan says, long walk movie story, Stephen King. It's an interesting story and not for faint of heart. I don't think anything Stephen King does is for the faint of heart. And it's the one of many adaptations that he's come. He must have a bajillion dollars, I would hope, for Stephen King for the book sales and the rights to shows and movies and everything. And good for him, man. That's pretty awesome, But like I said, I've never read a book that's been turned into a show or a movie. And I would assume the book's always better than the movie because the book doesn't have to be actual put in production. You can just write whatever you want to write, and you don't have to actually make it, like the Lord of the Rings or House of the Dragon and just any of the stuff, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, whatever. Writing stuff down is much easier. But ultimately, I think that, right now, I've said it before, it's a great time to be watching different shows and movies and everything because it doesn't make, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's one of those easy things to watch a lot of stuff on streaming services right now. And I'm excited for where we're going later this year into next year. I'm a Gen V Boys fan that's setting up Season 5, the final season of that. And I'm glad it's a good, they're going the 5 seasons route because 5-6 seasons, it's pretty good. It's you can have good character development on there too. So Daryl Dixon's only going to get 4 seasons, and then we're going to have to see with that. So I've seen pictures recently of Andrew Lincoln with Scott Gimple. Gimple does not look impressed with the picture that someone is taking. They're outside somewhere in London, I believe, and Andrew Lincoln being Andrew smiles for the picture, and it's just nice. Now, I don't know why they'd be talking to each other besides Walking Dead related, unless they're good friends or they're working on some other project or some other thing. But I would assume that there's been talks now for a couple weeks or however long that Andrew Lincoln, there's been talks for Andrew Lincoln to come back as Rick Grimes. And I don't know if it's going to happen for the Daryl show, because the Daryl show, they are filming the finale as we speak, or very, very soon. I don't know. I've seen different pictures of filming potentially with American flags, because they're filming in Spain still. And there's different things with American flags on, just around and on Humvees and whatever. And so I don't know if that's going to be the finale. Like they're filming in Spain and calling it the United States, unless it's like a U.S. embassy or some other thing like that. And, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the finale of that series, because the finale of season 3 was them, saving Justina, Roberto, all these people. Carol, Daryl's still alive. Everyone's still alive. Fetty was the one that was the group of the Fede, whatever I would say his name, whatever. But he was put in jail to be let out, to come out, to sneak up on our group, to attack Daryl, to blow up the boat, basically. So the boat was not going to be sailed. And we knew that something was going to happen for some reason for them not to sail back, because season 4 would be them just sailing back. We saw Cadrone go to the statue. We saw Cadrone see the fireball in the boat at the end. So he'll be there in season 4, but we already knew that from filming. And he was there with Daryl wherever they're filming a couple weeks ago or months ago, whatever. But, it's one of those, far-fetched things. Like, how did Cadrone meet up with them in Spain? Did he just walk over there from France? Did he go back? Did he get a boat himself? Like, how did he get there? I don't know. But the big thing I was thinking about it, too, is I was like, I wonder how they're going to wrap up Daryl Dixon's show. Is he going to be saved? Is he going to make it back home? Are they just going to come to Spain, and that's going to be the end of that? But then they could open up another show. Just because Daryl Dixon is ending doesn't mean we're not going to see Daryl again somehow, way, shape, or form. But it remains to be seen, because they're just trying to wrap things up at this point, and I don't know if it's going to make sense or not. And it probably won't, because some things are tough to wrap up in really shows and movies, because it's tough to kind of get to that point where it makes sense. But did Laurent and the other guy make it back to wherever they were going to actually end up? Did they make it to the States? Did they make it to the Commonwealth? Will Daryl be able to send out a message from like a U.S. embassy type of thing and be able to get a hold of someone back home and magically somehow get a hold of Eugene or somebody back home at the Commonwealth or Alexandria or Hilltop or wherever? And that's how it ends. But I don't know. There has to be an ending, whether we like it or not. And there's always endings for shows and movies that just lackluster at some points. But ultimately, I don't know what's going to happen with Daryl. We know he's going to survive, obviously. We know Daryl cannot be killed off, and Carol as well, too. So I don't like the idea that Daryl show's ending, but it could open up doors for another thing. What if there's another spinoff? I know people keep talking about, will there be a season 12 of The Walking Dead? Will this happen? Will that happen? Will Daryl and Rick be reunited? Will Morgan become around? Will all these things happen that were still left and open? Will we ever have confirmation about Heath? Will we know about this? Well, what happened here? What happened with, the Primrose team and this team and that team and, just everything coming together from the post-credit scene of World Beyond? Is there going to be another big bad that's going to open up the story from whatever? But I don't know. Like, I know someone, I don't know if it was Anissa who said it in here, that Gimple put his house on the market in Georgia. And so that to mean he's gone. I don't think it's going to be one of those things that makes sense for him to stick around if they're not going to film there. I don't think it's going to make sense if they're done filming. Why would he keep his house there? Because most people live in Georgia when you're going to be doing projects. You live in an area with your friends, your family, whatever, and then you also have another home. Like, these people are making millions of dollars a season, so they can live wherever they want to live. And I don't know what's going to happen with it. I don't think anybody knows, but I'm sure there's going to be tons of theories, rumors, expectations, things that I heard this, I heard that on there as well. But, we'll just have to wait and see. But the finale of season 3 of Daryl Dixon was okay. I mean, no one died. They're leaving everyone open ended for the 4th season. I mean, they're going to have some sort of bad guy group to deal with in the 4th season, unless they're really just trying to fix a boat again, or make a boat, or do this or that, or I don't know. I mean, the writing is what it's going to be, and at some point, I guess, in the Walking Dead universe, will people start to get back to society, back to the world, back to commerce, back to the laws, back to, transportation, getting around? Because it's been a long time in the Walking Dead universe. And I said it time and time again, that it would make sense to have the walkers be dying off just because their bones would start to break and rot and they wouldn't be able to get around. So, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense that there's so many walkers still around. But it is what it is. The Walking Dead needs their walkers because that's truly going to be there probably forever. So, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I'm excited for the Taylor Sheridan shows for this Tulsa King finale. Hopefully you guys are watching that. I watched this show, a documentary about, I think it's called Mob War, and it was like Philadelphia Mafia. They were getting caught up in stuff in the 90s or 2000s. I forget what the dates were of it exactly, but I was like trying to remember it because I was living there when it was going on, and in New Jersey, not Philadelphia, but it was kind of ringing home some of the things they were talking about, and I was like, that's kind of cool, but it's an interesting story, and then the latest thing with the NBA and the basketball, fixing of games, and the mafia potentially running fixed games and bringing people in. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but that's not a good look with betting on games and fixing games and having different stuff for it. But, it is what it is, and we'll have to see what happens for the punishment. But fixing of games is not cool, and you want to be able to bet the games and feel like you have a chance to win. But, some people don't care. They want to make their money too. So, but yeah, sorry, my nose is definitely bothering me a little bit. I apologize for that, and allergies, I guess. And it's also getting a little cool down here in Florida. It's going to be Halloween on Friday, and it's going to be a little nice cool down for us here. And then hopefully you'll be out and about and trick-or-treating with your family or giving out candy or Halloween party or whatever. Does anybody do a Halloween party for this past weekend? Or I doubt you would do it after the fact, right? But since it's a Friday, you actually have a Halloween party on Halloween. I remember one of the best days of school in elementary school was around Halloween, and it was probably the day of Halloween, where you could bring your costumes in, and you would have a normal day, and then you would have a little party, and you'd put your outfit on, and you would walk around the parking lot, like in a line, and people would watch you. Your friends were in line with you, your classmates, but then you'd have pretty much your grandparents, or I guess some parents were there, but it was still kind of funny to think about it as who was there. This was, the 80s and early 90s, so it was a big difference back then. But, you get your costume, and it was always like probably a one-piece thing with a little mask. And I don't know if I was like Casper or something, but I remember just those little masks with a little tie on it. I forget who made it, but it was kind of like, Adrian Richards asks, will we get to see Rick and Morgan reunion? I don't know. That's what everyone's going to ask, right? The next thing is like, what's going to happen with Rick? What's going to happen with Morgan? What's going to happen with Daryl, Carol, Maggie, Negan, the rest of the group? The Dama, the Croat. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And there's no way to tell right now. I know some people are going to be like, yeah, we're going to have a reunion with Rick and Morgan. We're going to have a reunion with Rick and Daryl. We're going to have a reunion with this. But do they really want to pay Lenny James to have him be at, the Commonwealth if Rick and Daryl get reunited? Like, I feel, and I don't know how else you guys feel, that The Walking Dead is on a bare bones basic budget. It feels like it's discount dead. It's the discount Walking Dead that they're like trying to make things for cheap. They put all their money in Daryl and Carol and they're filming in Spain, so I don't know if that's cheaper or harder to do than in the United States, tax breaks or whatever. But ultimately, at least with Dead City too, Negan and Maggie are both starring in the shows, executive producers. I think Lauren Cohan was even a director of one of these episodes, so they're like doing it all, right? And that's the way to do it. If you can do it, you want to be a writer, a producer, a director, be in it, like star in it. You want to get paid multiple times, be part of multiple unions, get paid in multiple things, the guilds and everything there too. It's one of your saying, it just makes sense that to be involved with everything. And so, but I just don't feel like the story is there, the writing is there, the acting is definitely there, because I feel like Lauren Cohan is a good actress for Maggie, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a good Negan, Norman Reedus is a good Daryl, and Melissa McBride is a good Carol. And the people they brought in, the actors are pretty good, I feel, for the Daryl show. But they're just stopgap points for Daryl to get from point A to point B, for Carol to get from point A to point B, and now they have to get from point B to point A again. They got to come back home. Or do they? So I don't know if it's going to make sense for them to bring Morgan around. Like, I don't know if they really even care about the ratings. So Ed says it's all about the ratings. Like, is it though? Like, are they happy with getting a couple million viewers of the Daryl show? Like, I don't even know how many people watch it. I don't know how many people watch it on AMC Plus, the next day on demand or whatever. I feel like they are just continuing the story because it's something to put on AMC. Like Norman Reedus has the Daryl Dixon Show, Ride with Norman Reedus. You have Dead City. You have what other shows on AMC? You have to have stuff that draws you into each streaming service or network or whatever it is now. And, you have your little niche markets of Disney stuff, Amazon stuff, Apple stuff, Netflix, and so on. And does it really make sense for it to be, drawing people in enough? I don't know if they advertised it, they would have to say, you don't want to miss this reunion. And then you're like, who's getting a reunion? Right? So if the reunion was something you already knew ahead of time, would you watch? Probably. If you didn't know, you'd probably want to watch even more because you didn't know who the reunion was going to be. And the way it's been with Daryl, or with The Walking Dead in general, is all about the build-up, all about drawing you in, and then when they have to have the payoff, or you have to have the actual story come out, it's kind of a lackluster, in my opinion. Like, remember all that build-up with Terminus? And they were there for 5 seconds. They were there for the finale and the premiere, and both were great episodes, but there was no story after that, besides the termites leaving and coming after Father Gabriel at the church and coming here and coming there, and then they were coming after our group. But it was all that buildup. And so I don't know if it's what's up, Jim? If it's ever going to be what it was, I doubt it'd ever be, and that's okay. But I would love for a fresh restart for The Walking Dead to be put into AMC's network, because you have some pretty big shows from AMC. I don't know if it's going to make sense for the future of the Walking Dead universe, but look what we have right now. We're holding on with these 2 final shows. I don't really need another spin-off of Tales of the Walking Dead or anything like that. It's just going to be something The Walking Dead. Insert word. It's like Mad Libs. Blank The Walking Dead. That's going to be the show, and that's going to be the series, and it had its time and made its money, and they did their thing, and they'll just move on, I guess, right? Like, stuff moves on after a while. We don't have, well, I mean, the big stuff, and I highly doubt The Walking Dead is any comparison to, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't feel like it's ever going to be able to do any of those things. But that's what really helped The Walking Dead. The comic book life of, the MCU really took off, and then they were like, oh, what about this? Oh, that's a comic. Oh, that's a comic. That's a comic. Oh, Umbrella Academy, that's a comic. The Boys, that's a comic. Walking Dead, that's a comic. What else is a comic? What else can we do? What else can we make? Because the MCU was so big. And now it's definitely something that it's on the way out. Even though I am excited for the Marvel stuff next year, I think it's going to be a pretty big year for Marvel, especially for X-Men 97. I'm really glad they did that, because that was a cool continuation of that story. And I just feel like The Walking Dead needs to just end. Just wrap it up and let's move on. Right? And then we can talk about the Taylor Sheridan shows and everything on there too as well. And so it's going to be something that every good story has to come to an end, right? Like, you just can't continue on with the story. Eventually, things have to end. Some of the best shows, Breaking Bad, The Wire, Sopranos, whatever. But then they found out how to make stuff different. Like, Breaking Bad went the Better Call Saul spinoff route. The prequel, this, that. Jim says X-Files, Even if it's like Supernatural that has like a million different different seasons, or Star Trek, or now Star Wars, it's on there too. So Sim says Lenny James now being with Sheridan, he might not have to look for work, where Sheridan liked to use the actors over and over again in the other shows. Well, yes and no. It's not like you have Taylor Sheridan puts all of his actors. So, like, what I've seen from the main people are, you have your Yellowstone people, your Mayor of Kingstown people, your Tulsa King people, your just Lioness people. They're not all going between shows. Like, you don't have Jeremy Renner and just everyone going in there. You have the smaller actors that are in there. You have Billy Bob Thornton coming over to this, and you have like the main big star, and then you have the same actors that have been in there too. Like, I don't know their names. Like, it was like the cook on 1883 was in Yellowstone, but was also, it's just the different stuff. So you have the smaller level actors, which makes sense, but you don't have the big guys. And it could be like Lenny James could be showing up again. And all I know is that I would love to be involved with Taylor Sheridan shows and be involved with that, because if he likes you, if he knows what he gets out of you, and if he does all that, it seems like he can recast you in a way that makes sense. And more big-time actors and actresses are being used in his shows. And it's awesome. Every time I'm seeing news about the Taylor Sheridan stuff, right, Sam Elliott, for sure. But that's like, again, that's a big-time actor, and he kind of fits the mold for the, Midwest, the Western type shows, especially 1883, and then Landman. But again, there's not enough people. You don't see, you don't see Jeremy Renner in Yellowstone and Mayor of Kingstown and, Tulsa King and this and there too. You don't see, Sylvester Stallone showing up in certain stuff. But either way, there's enough people that get moved around into his shows, and you'll recognize them as soon as you see them or whatever. I'm excited for the Yellowstone spinoffs with Marshalls and the Rip and Beth show, and then whatever else they want to do there too. If they're ever going to make the 4 Sixes Ranch, Because I feel like Taylor Sheridan, I don't know how long his contract is or what they've done with Paramount, but that's basically his network now, with Sylvester Stallone being involved with it too. And Paramount's doing some big stuff. Like, I saw if they're going to end up buying Warner Brothers, Discovery, something. Like, man, and I really hope they do have a connection with that, so you have a bundle of Paramount plus HBO Max plus whatever. Like, if you can bundle the stuff together, that's the way to go with stuff for a lot of people. You know, like, if you have to have 3 streaming services, that's going to be a little crazy on the price tag, plus internet. And I know that, you know, I'm going to have to renew my Amazon Prime in December. And it's still affordable. I mean, it's $139 lump sum payment, one-time payment. And I started it in December, so that's when it is every December. But I'm sure in a year or two, it'll go up again. Just like Netflix goes up. Just like everything goes up. And after a while, I'm probably going to have to make choices of, like, what do I want to do to watch stuff? You know? Might have to be you watch something because of the streaming service you have. And, you know, after a while, it's like, oh, you want to watch this, you have to have this streaming service. And then after a while, it's like, I'd rather just wait for them to complete the seasons and the series and then just watch it all at once. And now, I've kind of got rid of stuff on Facebook and social media that spoils stuff, because I might not watch it right away. Like, I didn't see the Tulsa King finale for season 3, so I don't know what happens. I didn't watch Daryl's episode last week, so I didn't know what happens. And then people are coming here saying that Cadron is back, and this is back, and this and whatever is back, you know. And it's not that big a deal, because I already knew Cadron was coming back from filming for season 4. But, you know, I don't know. I don't care if I find out that Rick's going to be in the Daryl show or not. At this point, I don't mind knowing, obviously, you know. So I'm hoping that it's worth just the time and the effort, too. So, Jim, what finale was poor? The Daryl Dixon finale or Tulsa King, or which finale was poor? So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's entertainment. Like, that's what I'm just trying to escape, to watch the different shows. We're still watching Bloodline on Netflix, which is a good show. The Daryl show, yeah, I mean, it was what it was. I didn't think it was a great finale by any means either. Like, so Daryl and Paz got into the little weird place to... They didn't even... So, like, the group drives the truck into whatever it was. The castle, whatever the compound. And they're like, yeah, we have this and this. We found some olives or whatever they were bringing in. And they're like, okay, open the door. They didn't check what's in the back. They didn't do anything good security-wise. The Walker puppet show thing was kind of funny. And then you saw the person pick Justina. Then Daryl went in and just started cutting down the walkers. But he didn't get attacked by it or whatever. And then they burned it up and did this. And, you know, the queen ended up killing the king guy, general, whatever he was, which we knew was going to happen. And you saw the relationships that were there. Then they had to make it back and come back. And then it fell apart with the place where Daryl was at before, Daryl and Carol were at. Then they were trying to get on the boat to leave. And they shot up the boat, and it was on fire. And now they did all that work for the boat for it to be destroyed. And I don't know how they got it up on the side like that, on the planks like that. That was pretty impressive. But you try to start thinking about things. The Daryl show is interesting. We'll go with that. But it's fine. Not trying to figure stuff out, because the world of stuff, Daryl, it's amazing how Daryl was not wounded at all in any of the crazy stunts that he was doing, and people were shooting at him and whatever. Like, you'd think Daryl would get a little more damage. And it's just, But it's fine, stuff's going to work out because Daryl's plot armor. But you got to get some wounds a little bit. Like, he was all beat up in the first season, and now he's back to having the armor, the plot armor is thick because they have to set up how Daryl and Carol are going to get home potentially next season. So I don't know if we're going to see Jeff Grimes. Do you guys want to see Jeff Grimes from the comic being in the last season? Because we didn't see him at all. There was just a nice little reference, and that's what they do in The Walking Dead now. Like, remember when Daryl was talking to Carol and was like, came back. Came back. And you're like, who came back? What came back? What was the Carol? Who came back? And it was like, nothing. Nothing came back. It was like a line to draw you in. And at this point, they're like playing with us and teasing us and trying to do this and trying to do that. And you're like, where they're little, they move stuff around, they get our hopes up, and there. And I want to see the reunion with Daryl and Rick. And if it doesn't happen, then I think it's a missed opportunity. Whether it happens in this show or another show or whatever, will there be... So the Daryl show ends next season. Then we have Dead City. And what if Daryl and Carol and whoever makes it back, they come into Dead City and they roll into Dead City season 4. And that's the final season of that. But you have Maggie, Negan, Daryl, Carol, whoever. And it's a very much like immigrant story coming to the United States from Europe. Bare bones basic history coming back, just like a lot of people came to Ellis Island. Like, I think that would be the best thing in my opinion if they do that. Not to say they will, but I'm just spitballing ideas here. So I think Dead City should be the final show that they have. Unless it's going to be another show that they decide to bring people back. And it's like a 1 season, 6 episode Rick, Michonne, whoever kind of series. To wrap it all up and just finish it. Do people want that? Do they not? I don't know. I mean, you listen to a lot of people. People love every Walking Dead show there is still. Oh, it's so great. Oh, this is so great. Oh, it's so great. Everything's great. Right? And it's okay. I wouldn't say the Daryl show is great by any means, but it's interesting. It's worth watching. And I was talking to some patients, because I always try to ask them, oh, what shows are you watching? What do you like to watch? And the one guy's like, yeah, I watched The Walking Dead like 3 times now. I'm like, oh, yeah? Who's your favorite character? And before he even said it, I knew it was going to be Daryl, and it was Daryl. Just how the guy was and how he was being. And I'm like, yeah, he's a Daryl guy, which is cool. And I was like, oh, do you watch the Daryl Dixon show? He's like, no, that doesn't interest me. And that's kind of crazy. If your favorite character had its own show, why wouldn't you watch them? Why wouldn't you support it? And, I wasn't trying to cause an argument or any problems. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, some people don't like it. It's worth watching, in my opinion, because I want people to watch it. I want people to support The Walking Dead, And so it's interesting to watch the story unfold, and it's interesting. So Brick says, totally miss your videos. Love seeing you, man. Hopefully they bring the show back for 1 super season. We get your weekly videos again. Yeah, I think that would reinvigorate me again to start making videos. If they could recapture and rekindle and just regroup the group and get everybody back that was yes, we're back, baby. The Walking Dead is back. Rick, Daryl, Carol, Maggie, Michonne, Morgan. But again, without the comic material, the source material, it really struggles. The Walking Dead really struggles outside the sandbox of the comic material. Fear the Walking Dead highlighted that greatly. Tales of the Walking Dead, same thing. World Beyond, another. Like, when you're talking about something that was added for the show, it's just tough to have that be outside. But again, you could do whatever you wanted. It's so frustrating, too. Like, Fear the Walking Dead was a clean slate. But you're like, nah, we don't want to connect it all, The Walking Dead. It was a huge missed opportunity. And so they forced connections in season 4. But then you already watched 3 seasons of this. And you're like, oh, well, this character wants to leave. And this guy wants to do this. And blah, blah, blah. And how do you have it all fit together? You didn't. It was a hodgepodge mess. So Brick says, totally agree. If you had the pen, what direction would you go? Excuse me. So if I had the pen, I would do the Dead City final season. And I would have Daryl and Carol, I would have their finale be them being rescued by Rick in a boat that's a huge vessel from the Civic Republic. And the Civic Republic goes in and kind of cleans it up and gets it, better. So the Civic Republic is like rebuilding society, helping people, protecting people, stopping all the crazy crimes and kidnappings, and just back to like society as a whole in the world. And then that's how the show ends. Dead City goes a totally tangent for season 4, kind of like the Walking Dead universe likes to do, like Fear the Walking Dead at least, is a boat arrives at Ellis Island, and it's Rick, Daryl, Carol, whoever else they want to bring back from that show, to America, and there's a war that breaks out with the New Babylon Marshals, whatever. And Maggie and Negan see that, and then there's the whole interaction with that, and it's like a big battle. So Dead City is the battle for New York, for the methane, for the power source, the Croat, Dama, whatever, whoever else you want to bring in for it. And that's like the start of rebuilding too, because they have a power source to power things, and they're using the walkers and everything. And that's a kind of a good connection that they can have there too. And then it would end with them succeeding and living and being like, all right, this is going to help out. We can set up power stations and getting everything back to it. And the Civic Republic comes in and just shuts down the New Babylon Marshal way, because the New Babylon Marshals were kind of cool, but it's the Civic Republic, man. They got gear, they got weapons, they got helicopters, they got gas, they got everything they need to take out some group in the, settlers in Colonial Williamsburg or whatever it is. Like, come on now. Civic Republic, they're the final endgame thing that is a way to end it. And that's just how it ends, in my opinion. Then if they wanted to reboot it in a couple years, because things went back to crap, and then you have the Next Generation type with Judith, Old Man Daryl coming together at Rick's funeral. And Rick's funeral is the start of the next story. And whatever it is. It just would be a way that they can progress that way, and you can go on and have new cast, new this, new story, new problems, new this, and whatever. And you could have Judith being an older woman now, so it could be a different cast unless you wanted, Kaylee Presley. You could have the same actress. So I don't know. That's just what I would do personally. And it would be good because you could carry stuff through, connect the dots, have callbacks, connections, little things. You could go with any route you wanted to go. But that takes time, money, energy, effort, money, budget. And I don't know if they want to do that way. But I have my own book series, or series I don't know. Series. And Fight For Us 2, I got to start writing the next book. I'm getting more and more ideas like every day. And I'm getting eager to start writing again, to have the next book come out next year. And so I wish I had like a solid couple days off just to like take the time off and relax and write a little bit. So this is going to be my last live stream for a while. I'll probably do one around Thanksgiving and then probably around Christmas and set things up. And if there's anything really to talk about, I may make a couple of videos and whatever, but I'll be able to take this time. And that's why I always think about it too with my patients. I'm like, I think that, when we have patients in physical therapy, they come to therapy for 2 to 3 times a week, and then maybe 2 times a week, and then maybe once a week, and then they're discharged to their homework. And if they were coming 3 times a week and then they get discharged, you just have an extra, 3 times a week that you should be exercising, doing something with that time now. Because my goal is to make sure they continue on with it afterwards, because you're going to have the same body, back, potential problems if you don't keep it up. If you don't use it, you lose it, And I always tell people, mind, body, and soul, you got to keep it going. And so with this time here every Sunday, if I take a little break from live streams, I'll have an hour. Even if I wrote for 20 minutes, it's amazing how much you can do in 20 minutes or a full hour. Because if you think about it too, guys, we have 24 hours in a day. You wake up, if you go to bed at midnight and you wake up at 8, you have 16 hours a day after that. Then after going to the bathroom and showering and working out and probably working, is another 8 hours. But if you have another 8 hours, so that's 16 of the 24 hours that's accounted for, you have another 8 hours of your day that you can find 20 minutes, hopefully, without to take your time to work on a project or write or draw or create or whatever it is, And I think it would be pretty cool to be able to start doing that again. And I think that's what I'm going to start to do, especially going forward with it, and try to, of course, work on my investing and try to get to the point of, making money and making money off my money. So that's the goal, and try to do that and be able to create more. And if I had more free time, I'd probably make more videos on YouTube. And, I do miss it a little bit here and there, because I still feel like YouTube is a great source for reaching people, exercising, content, entertainment, motivation, inspiration, education on the correct stuff to do, what not to do. And, it's definitely something that I want to get back to doing, and then, I'll have to see down the road for it. But I got some trips coming up later this year. How about you guys? Any trips, vacations? Are you excited for anything? End of this month, November, December, end of this year, going anywhere, doing anything? I'm excited. I am really excited for Stranger Things, which I thought was pretty cool. And yeah, Sim says 20 minutes is now the new 2 minutes when you get my age. That's true. And stuff just takes longer to do, So, yeah, got a couple minutes on there and do this on there. And also, like, having a priority list of what's important for it. And, of course, it's like eating, going to the bathroom, working, doing that too, So it makes sense. But the big thing about it is just try to have fun with it in life, friends, family. I know some days at work feels like it's like the greatest job ever, being a physical therapist. And some days it's like, oh my God, everything is going wrong. The computer's a problem. Patients are late. Just things aren't going right. And then hopefully the next day gets better. But not every day is the same, and that's the good thing. It's not every day is terrible and not every day is great, which is both good and bad. But that's the same as any day life. So luckily we're doing okay with, weather and health and wealth, and we're doing okay too. So Maria says they're releasing the final season of Stranger Things in 3 parts, and the final part 3, will be released in theaters. Well, it'll be released on Netflix and in theaters is the final part. So you're right. So it's 3 parts, I think 8 episodes, and I think the first part is like 4 episodes. That's like Thanksgiving or the day before or something, whatever, right around Thanksgiving. And then it's like Christmas. Maybe it's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or around there for the second part. And then the third part is like New Year's Eve, New Year's Day kind of thing. And that's going to be crazy of how they explain and wrap it up. Because I know they're going to talk about the Upside Down and Vecna and this and that, and it's going to be nuts. But I think it's going to have to be that we lose 11 and or Will or both. And it's crazy that those kids are still in high school. They're like so old now. But it's been so long because that show has been going. When did Stranger Things come out? 2016? 20 whatever? That's crazy. And it's only like, what is this, the 5th season or something? Like, it's not like there's been 20 seasons. There was like a season, this, that, greenlit, make another season, this season, that, here, there, and then the strikes and this and COVID and everything got delayed. And so, around 2016, right? And so it's crazy. Like 9 years this show's been out. And it's a crazy show, and it's a good show, and I'm glad that I'm glad it existed. I'm glad somebody made it. And I know they were talking about trying to they were talking about how to make it and what it was, and it got, certain networks, I think, turned it down, and I'm glad Netflix made it because I'm definitely really interested to see, how it plays out. Sim says, can't wait for From to come back. Me too. I can't wait to see what happens, especially the way From ended last season, because it's definitely something that draws you in, and you got to see what's going down. And we finally got some answers in the finale last season to set up next. I don't think next season's the final season. I think there's one more after that, but I could be wrong. But I'd be fine with it being one more season because I feel like we're getting to the point where you just kind of wrap it up. But I'm drawn in to see how it's going down. I hope that's another satisfying ending show, but more than likely, the series finales are always kind of tough to wrap things up. Bricks had blood clots in my leg and then lungs back in 23, and I've been dealing with the aftermath to this day. So God willing, I'm turning 44 in December, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Well, Brooks, you got to pull through. Oh, Bricks, you got to pull through. Hopefully, keep working hard. Keep exercising when you can. Medications, make sure you're safe. Again, if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of a thing. But it's tough with arterial stuff and especially blood clots and everything. But got to keep pushing through, keep working hard. Maria says, I thought we should lose Max last season because now Vecna might use her to get the scoop. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think Max is going to be the catalyst bridge point for Vecna. And then ultimately they're going to have to come into the real world. It's going to blend together, and it's going to be crazy of how it goes down. Sim says, Q&A, do you think Jim is really dead? I don't know. Like, we'll have to see how it plays out on From. I don't know if it's going to really go down, because it's interesting the way it was with the future of, like, the Man in Yellow just complicated everything. And so I don't know. I mean, they might find a way to go back and bring people back and keep people safe or whatever. And they're going to have to play with time a little bit. Obviously, we know of a paradox, multiverse, multi-universe type of thing. I feel that's where it's going. And they love to do that. That's like the latest thing now is the multiverse and alternate paths and timelines and how it is and, how it is. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he's alive, okay. If not, then it sucks because I kind of like Jim on From. I kind of like all the people, You know, even Randall. There's been different theories on Facebook talking that Randall is the guy in yellow. Because whatever, you're like, I don't know. It's just, it'll be interesting to see how they play out. You know, what they decide to do. And how they can just play with things and move stuff around. And they thought they were making progress and do there too. But yeah, so big stuff, man. You know, next year, got 2 Game of Thrones shows. We got The Boys season 5. You know, I think that it's going to be enough. I really hope 2026 is just a better year all around. I feel like 25, for myself at least, has been like one thing after another, after every month after this. And we're wrapping it up, and we'll have to see how it plays out. And I feel like we're getting there little by little by little. And we're getting through it just like anything. Good, bad, indifferent stuff happens. And challenges are there to test us and make us grow. And keep pushing forward. And, you know, just got to be safe to move on to the next day and to the next week, to the next month, to the next year. And pretty soon it'll be 26. And hopefully it's a good year financially for all of us. And weather-wise and health-wise and wealth-wise and everything else too. So, hey, Phantom. So, hey, guys, like I said, I'm going to be, taking a little break from the live streams for a little bit because I got some stuff coming up in November and just won't really be able to dedicate the time for it. But I should be back in around Thanksgiving that I'll be able to talk about it. So I know that Thanksgiving is the 27th, so probably maybe like the 23rd or maybe even 30th. I'm not sure, but I'll post something on like the message stuff, or I'll create a post on YouTube when I'm coming back. Like I'll be doing a live stream whenever. Like I'll be doing a live stream this Sunday, guys, from 1 to 2, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully you guys can make it in, let's just say a month, you know, whatever. And, you know, it's just a lot of crazy stuff going around. And, you know, one thing led to another here this year. And, you know, it's been a tough year, you know. And as you guys know, that I lost Milo in January. And, you know, every 17th that comes around, it's like another month that he's been gone. And we have Otis now, and I love the guy and everything, but it's still, I was talking about it to a patient the other day, and she was saying that they have a cat, and he's like 14. I think she's like 14 or whatever, the cat. And, you know, it makes me tell them about Milo, who was 17 and a half. And it's sad. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get over him not being here because, you know, he's like my son when I had him for 17 and a half years. But it's just one of those things that it's just this year compounded on, you know. But it had to happen at some point, and it just, thanks. So, yeah, Thanksgiving is November 27th. And, yeah, it just, you know, like 9 days ago when it was the 17th, I was like, wow, it was 9 months when I lost Milo. And it just sucked. It just kind of hit me a little bit, you know, and I can see why people, I always thought it was kind of interesting when my dad would know, like when he lost my grandparents. He's like, yeah. And he always loves to say like, oh yeah, I lost my dad on here, you know, and he would have been however old. And it's my grandfather. He's talking about his dad. And I kind of get it a little bit more now after losing Milo, where I'm like, you know, I'm not going to say like, oh, Milo would be 28 years old. Maybe. I don't know. Like in 11 years, I'd be like, oh, yeah, Milo would have been 48 if he was still alive, you know. Like, I don't think that's realistic to think that Milo would have lived to be, you know, more than 20 plus years. But some cats do. And again, it's just a cat, but it's just some animal that I loved and very special to me. And I feel like people and animals come into your lives at different times for different reasons, and they come and go in and out of your life. Just like a story, just like a main character story. Like Daryl has these people to help him get from point A to point B, and then they're gone. Like, you know, I had a patient who was from Long Island, New York, and he's still my patient now. And he went to his 50th high school reunion, And I've never been to a high school reunion, any of mine. You know, they only had like one so far, even though I graduated 20 plus years ago. But it made me think about it too. Like, remember when you were in high school? Remember all the people you were friends with? And now suddenly we don't talk to each other. Like they're just not part of your life. Like you would see your same friend or people in your classes every day, every school year. And then you graduated and you went to college, excuse me, or you moved away or you did whatever. And maybe you kept in touch and maybe you didn't. And maybe you saw them on Facebook and you became friends with them. Maybe you didn't. And, you know, it's something that you're like, And then you went to college and made friends and had relationships. And then you graduated. And then you got into the workforce, or maybe you went to grad school or medical school or law school or whatever. And then you made new friends. And then you went to work, and now you've been working for so long. And then you got into a relationship or whatever. And you just like don't really talk to these people anymore. And it's part of life. It's just what it is. But it's like, And it makes me think about it as like they help us grow along our journeys, along our paths, along our way. And it just makes you feel like, how can I help people out? Hopefully I am helping people out. Or maybe some people don't care. I don't know. but I do, I guess, from how I am as a physical therapist and just how I am as a person, I guess, too. Jim asked a good question. I wonder if Daryl misses dog. I hope so. That's the reunion I want to see, too, is Daryl be reunited with dog. Who's watching dog now? You know? Is dog okay? I mean, I know the acting dog named Seven passed away, but you could get another Belgian Malinois and be reunited there too, you know? Sim says, graduated in 1980, 80% that stayed here are gone. Sad business. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it is kind of funny when you see like an old friend or an old relative or an older person that you've known since you were a little kid or whatever. It just feels right. It feels like an old shoe that you put on, or an old, baseball glove that just still fits. And you're like, it just feels right. You know? And that's why it's always cool to see my friends back home when I go back to New Jersey for Friendsgiving. Or we went to Hilton Head, South Carolina a couple months ago now. And it was cool to see the guys that in the book series are Sean, Matt, and John. Phil wasn't there, but... And it's just cool to see that. And I said it before, that's why I write the book series too, is to stay connected with them. And I know it's a fictional thing, and the personalities of the characters are not exactly who they are in real life by any means. It's greatly loosely based on them. But it's still like I picture them when I'm writing it. Like I picture tall, skinny Matt and Sean and John now. He's like an older guy, and he's bald now in real life. But, it's kind of the thing that makes you think about it too a little bit, and get a little nostalgic and remembering your friends and everything too, and the good times. And it was funny when I was talking to a patient that, when I was in, see you, Negan. When I was in senior year in high school, I was in New Jersey, and we had a senior trip where we flew from Philadelphia to Orlando and went to Epcot, Magic Kingdom, Blizzard Beach, Water Park, and Universal. And it was a great trip. And I was talking to people about it, and like so many people didn't do that at all. And I was like, I just thought it was kind of a thing to have a senior trip or senior day or senior something in your senior year in high school. And it was such a good, memorable thing. And the patient was like, oh, that's very memorable for you. And I'm like, yeah, I can picture like it was yesterday. Just like so much of the trip, staying at All-Star Sports at Disney and going on the buses and taking the monorail all over the place and just being at that time I was 17. Gonna be 18, I think. That was 18, gonna be 19. Yeah, and it was just awesome. It was just a good time. But all right, guys, that's my hour. Man, it goes quick. So enjoy Tulsa King or football or whatever else you're watching tonight, and the Taylor Sheridan shows, Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown, all that good stuff. I'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about stuff what's been going on with me for the past month, I guess, then, because I won't be back for a couple weeks. Like I said, I'll let you guys know in a chat on there for our post through that. So thank you guys for taking the time. I truly appreciate it. Everybody that's here this Sunday and every Sunday, it means a lot to me, to the support and the community for us to still be here even after all these years of The Walking Dead. And it's just always a nice, good community feel. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. And remember, with hard work, dedication, belief, and sacrifice, you can truly achieve your goals no matter what they are. Keep working hard, guys. Enjoy the shows, movies that you're going to watch today and the rest of this year. I'll be back in a short break, probably a month or so. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you guys.